But we begin tonight with new developments in a story that is now moving faster than even its own politics. Revelations today about a legal gap between what was authorized by Bush administration lawyers and what was actually done to prisoners in U.S. custody during the Bush administration. A gap between what was and continues to be the explanation for why torture was so necessary and the real circumstances in which torture was actually done. In 2006, President Bush explained the specific circumstances he thought justified the CIA's network of secret prisons and the torture program.
A small number of suspected terrorist leaders and operatives captured during the war have been held and questioned outside the United States in a separate program operated by the Central Intelligence Agency. These are dangerous men with unparalleled knowledge about terrorist networks and their plans of new attacks. The security of our nation and the lives of our citizens depend on our ability to learn what these terrorists know. I can say that questioning the detainees in this program has given us information that has saved innocent lives by helping us stop new attacks.
Helping us stop new attacks. That justification was not just the political justification made by the president to the nation in public. That was also the secret legal justification, too. We now know that when the Bush Justice Department approved the torture program in 2002, that approval was contingent on the need to stop new attacks against the U.S. It's right at the beginning of that August 2002 memo that says torture's okay. It says, quote, "Our advice is based upon the following facts, and this opinion is limited to these facts. If these facts were to change, this advice would not necessarily apply. The interrogation team is certain that Abu Zubaydah is withholding information regarding plans to conduct attacks within the United States or against our interests overseas. In light of the information you believe Zubaydah has and the high level of threat you believe now exists, you wish to move the interrogations into what you described as an increased pressure phase." What that means is that this ill-conceived, legally dubious memo gave the go-ahead to waterboard only in order to prevent another attack. It was the so-called ticking time bomb scenario. That was the public justification, and that was the secret legal justification. And now, in this here comes a new piece of information every day, post-torture world that we're living in, we are getting evidence upon evidence that waterboarding, which was only purportedly legal to use in the case of an imminent attack, waterboarding was used for other reasons. So conceivably, it wasn't even legal under the Bush torture memos. Exhibit A came yesterday from former NBC News investigative producer Bob Windrum. Windrum revealed that Vice President Cheney's office suggested an Iraqi intelligence officer be waterboarded to try to prove a link that the White House believed existed between Iraq and al-Qaeda. Not to help us stop a new attack, but to help us justify a war that we had already launched on Iraq. That officer wasn't captured until the end of April '03. The government of Saddam was gone. The statue of Saddam had been pulled down in Firdas Square. But the suggestion came down to use the waterboard on him anyway, to try to find that al-Qaeda link that would retroactively justify the invasion. Then today, news first reported by Huffington Post's Sam Stein about Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. KSM was captured on March 1st, 2003. That month, he was waterboarded 183 times. What we now know from the Intelligence Committee is that U.S. officials who interrogated KSM and who waterboarded him were asking him first and foremost about a link between Iraq and al-Qaeda. From that report, quote, "Counterterrorism Center noted that the questions regarding al-Qaeda's ties to the Iraqi regime were among the first presented to senior al-Qaeda operational planner Khalid Sheikh Mohammed following his capture." Now, I said evidence upon evidence. Here we go. You ready? The pressure to use techniques like waterboarding to find a link between Iraq and al-Qaeda is further corroborated by an Army psychiatrist present at these high-value detainee interrogations. His name is Major Paul Burney, and he told the Senate Armed Services Committee, quote, "Even though they were giving information, and some of it was useful, while we were there, a large part of the time we were focused on trying to establish a link between al-Qaeda and Iraq. And we were not being successful in establishing a link between al-Qaeda and Iraq. The more frustrated people got in not being able to establish this link, there was more and more pressure to resort to measures that might produce more immediate results." And if you want evidence with your evidence upon evidence, How about more from a high-ranking Bush administration official at the time? The Chief of Staff to the Secretary of State, Lawrence Wilkerson, after appearing on this show on Tuesday night, revealed at the Washington Note that, quote, as the administration authorized harsh interrogation in April and May of 2002, its principal priority for intelligence was not aimed at preempting another terrorist attack on the U.S., but discovering a smoking gun linking Iraq and al-Qaeda. Want more? Okay. An anonymous former senior U.S. intelligence official tells McClatchy's Jonathan Landay that one of the reasons, quote, these interrogations were so persistent and why extreme methods were used was that for most of 2002 and into 2003, Cheney and Rumsfeld especially were demanding proof of the links between al-Qaeda and Iraq. This is all unfolding so fast now that Washington politics can't really keep up. What seems to be emerging factually from multiple sources is that waterboarding was used to try to come up with a link between Iraq and al-Qaeda, which may mean that waterboarding was done outside even the rickety legal construct that the Bush administration built to support it. Joining us now is Jane Mayer. She's a staff writer for The New Yorker magazine. She's author of the best-selling book, The Dark Side, the inside story of how the war on terror turned into a war on American ideals. Jane Mayer, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Glad to be with you.